Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Mr. Blackwald from Twilight Force. How are you doing?
Greetings, greetings. I'm doing just fantastic, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. First of all, I wanted to ask you about the Twilight Kingdoms. What can you tell us about that fantastic world?
Ooh, the Twilight Kingdoms. Well, it is indeed a magical and mystical world. Um, it's, it has heroes and legendary creatures, arcane prophecies, and ancient tales. It is, I would say, a world as old as time itself, where the battle between good and evil has been raging since before recorded history. What else can be said? It is, for those of you who are not familiar with the Twilight Kingdoms, it is two major continents consisting of 7 kingdoms. I actually do have a map to show you all.
Wow.
Here's a map of the 7 kingdoms, also known as the Twilight Kingdoms. We have Dalarnia, a mountainous and foresty kingdom in the north. And we have Valdas, covered in arid plains and deserts in the west. And we have Ungliath, a swampy, damp kingdom down here in the south. And we have Aloria and Thalmara, 2 lush and beautiful kingdoms to the east. And we have Aeonia, a mythic and great island in the far east. And lastly, at the heart of the Twilight Kingdoms lies Krond, enclosed by high mountain ranges. It is a somber, desolate, and perilous place indeed.
Wow. That is incredible. That is incredible. So, what is the role of Twilight Force within the Twilight Kingdoms?
Oh, my friend, this is a rather lengthy story, but I shall try to shorten it to the best of my abilities. It took me a long time to decipher this conundrum, because you see, according to the prophecies, our role is to ultimately restore order, peace, and equilibrium to all 7 kingdoms. That is the ultimate goal of Twilight Force. You see, there is a malefic miasma, an evil force emanating from an unknown source at the heart of the Twilight Kingdoms. And it has been growing and spreading steadily for countless years. So it has to be stopped before it completely engulfs the world and shatters the fabric of reality and manner as we know it. That would mean the end of all things living. Now, the only way to do this is by uniting the power of the 6 legendary crystals of destiny and their chosen bearers. So, after years of research, we don't have to go, deep into that, how that, came to be. But I finally then managed to figure out who these crystal bearers were, and also where the crystals themselves were located. So, Twilight Force consists of these crystal bearers. Naturally, I am one of them. And, this is now the journey that we are on. It is a journey to restore order and peace to the Twilight Kingdoms, and we shall see where that path takes us. But we shall do all in our power to fulfill our quest.
for those that are least familiar with Twilight Force and the Twilight Kingdoms, what can you tell us about your role with Twilight Force?
Oh, my role. Well, I would say I have quite a few different roles, but to take it from the beginning, I mean, the prophecy of the crystals was actually known to the wizards of the old world of the Twilight Kingdoms a long, long time ago. But those secrets and tales, they were forgotten and buried uh, within dark vaults and magic libraries for ages, until I eventually rediscovered them, and I managed to interpret and understand what had to be done to save the kingdoms. This was long-lost knowledge to humankind, but we unearthed them once again. So, well, as a warlock and a crystal bearer of Twilight Force, I strive to be the guiding lantern on our journeys and to keep studying what the prophecies say to keep us safe and on the right path to our destiny. And, in general, in Twilight Force, me and also Lind, our clandestine half-elf, are also responsible for the actual music of Twilight Force. We are the ones who piece together all the compositions. So one could say that I am a storyteller in more than one way.
And that takes me to my next question, which is how do you guys convert the stories of the Twilight Kingdoms into the great storytelling aspect of Twilight Force? Is there a specific process that you go through, some magic involved? What's the way that you achieve that final goal?
That is a great question indeed, and there is a lot of magic involved, but also tedious work and countless hours. And I would say that the most common way is that Lind and I, we will sit down together and, start playing with ideas, musical ideas and different sounds. I am now situated in the Twilight Forge, where all the magic happens and all the conjuring commences. But, we're looking maybe for a certain soundscape, a certain mood that we feel at the time. So, together that will oftentimes, us working together, me and Lindy, will, lead us to a plethora of ideas, some of which naturally are absolute garbage and we can throw them away, and some, have a grain of an interesting concept that we can continue to work on. But we will usually be able to derive a few useful ones that we can, continue to work on. So, I don't know, after we have a basic structure of an actual piece of music, we can then move on to touch on a written topic that sparked our interest in and fit the mood of the song. So I would say in general, the lyrical and storytelling part, written storytelling part, may I say, comes after the actual composition. So, it could be whatever topic. It could be a tale of an old king, an old legend of a mighty beast, or stories of a mythic battle. Whatever fits our musical vision at the time. So, from there on, we begin crafting the words and main melodies so that they fit with the music, like pieces of a puzzle. Mm-hmm. So for us, the vocal line and the melodies are extremely important for the overall song. It's easy to write a composition and leave out the very important element of the melodic storytelling part, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes a lot of time. But, generally we let that take whatever time it needs because it's such an imperative part of our music. So, that is generally the groundwork. I'm sorry if I'm ranting here, but a topic close at heart. But, then after that, everything that follows is the meticulous work with arrangements, orchestral, choral arrangements, and percussive elements. And it is so much that goes into the crafting of a song that, half would be enough, but, it is extremely time consuming, but also extremely rewarding. It's like, building a castle from the ground up. You are shaping blocks from marble and granite, and you're constructing walls and towers, and then finally, after all that work is done, you get to finally decorate with banners and bear pelts, dragon skulls, maybe, if you have killed any. But please don't. They're very precious creatures, and crests and whatnot. So to finally sit back and relax and behold the result of all that work is undescribably satisfying. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, definitely. You gave us a complete look into how that music storytelling aspect comes about and the magic behind it. Now, you guys added a new member to Twilight Force, Elion. Where did you guys find him? Did you guys find him in a local tavern, wandering around one of the kingdoms? How did you discover him?
well, let us just say, same thing here. I shall try to make it is a very long story, but I will try to keep it short. And, you know, basically the stars aligned. And Allion was what we had always been looking for. And we, as crystal bearers, and well, I should take responsibility for this because I misinterpreted some of the prophecies. But when we finally found Allion, the last crystal bearer, he fit like, a glove, and it was meant to be. And, for him to be part of, our fellowship right now is really has set us on our right path to our destiny. So the stars really aligned for all this to take place. And, it was inevitable. But you never know what perilous paths lies in your head before you actually, before things become, falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
So also Allion had, before he joined Twilight Force, he had his own musical endeavors. He was working with Luca Turilli, for example, for many years, but that collaboration came to a halt when Luca decided to pursue different adventures in life. So Allion was, he saw his calling, and for whomever wants to delve deeper into the story of how Allion came to be a part of Twilight Force, there is a lengthy description of this tale in the booklet, actually, of our third album, Dawn of the Dragon Star. So
And
I'll leave it at that for now.
yeah, that actually takes me to that point, which is what kind of impact do you feel that he had on Dawn of the Dragon Star?
I would say he had a great impact. We could suddenly work in a different way with exploring different musical ideas, exploring new and uncharted paths in terms of storytelling and different types of voices and characters and relentless recording of that never, he was truly magnificent to work with and brought a lot to the table once, the recording process started. As I said, me and Lynn, we will create the framework and the groundwork for all the musical pieces. But as we brought Alien in to the equation, it all took off to a higher dimension or legendary plane. It was magnificent to behold and experience. So yes, he contributed a lot with his absolutely exquisite skill.
Since the dawn of time, I would say storytelling has always been a big part of humans. Before even the written word, we were telling stories verbally one to another. The dawn of the Dragon Star, it becomes a storyteller. It's almost like an audio book, if you will. Do you feel like that is the main driving force behind the work you put together to not just have the stories written in paper, but have that oral tradition that has come through the beginning of times all the way up until now?
That's a very interesting take indeed, and I fully agree. Storytelling is imperative for humankind to perpetuate knowledge and bring words of, both sorrow and love and fear and wonder. So, yes, storytelling is an integral part, and I would say in terms of Twilight Force, we tend to write stories, not, people talk about concepts or, you mentioned audiobook, which is a great compliment. We want the listener to partake in our journeys. And they might not be journeys that we specifically have undertaken, but it could be tales and mythical legends from other parts of the Twilight Kingdoms. It could be a magical artifact that has had a great impact on a small community of people on a desolate island, perhaps. So what we do is we create musical pieces based around loosely, found stories and tales and myths that I have uncovered in arcane libraries. So it is not a concept album per se, or we probably will not make any of those. Well, don't quote me on that, but that's my guess. So, but it's a different stories to tell different tales, and towards the end of our journey, which I certainly hope is not soon, we will perhaps we will create this world of coherency, but it is tiny bits and pieces and stories, all scattered around the Twilight Kingdoms, so the listener will have to read and interpret and figure out what's happening. But we try to keep it coherent and yeah, we have many examples from Dawn of the Dragon Star where we have stories that you can partake in and hopefully feel that you can submerge yourself and immerse yourself in this world and story that we're trying to tell.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I never thought it from that perspective, but you can look at all the records and all the storytelling that you guys have done, and maybe 20 years from now we'll be able to start to piece one complete sequence of events out of all the different stories. That's actually absolutely incredible. I never looked at it from that perspective. So that's really interesting. One of the elements that I thought was really interesting about your storytelling aspect in Dawn of the Dragon Star was a little bit of a Japanese Middle Eastern folk influence to the sound. What part of the kingdom did that influence come from?
Ooh, interesting. Well, to be fair, I have ventured far and wide throughout the kingdoms, and I'm not exactly sure where exactly this musical influence came from. It could be Delmara, it could be Aloria. I'm not exactly sure just yet. I am still trying to decipher a lot of the enigmatic scriptures and scrolls. But it is interesting that you bring it up for, specific stories calls for certain soundscapes. So in the case of Blade of Immortal Steel, which I'm sure you refer to, is the story of a blade master. For you who have not heard the song yet, it is a rather lengthy, I would say, epos, and a story about a blade master teaching his newly found apprentice to be, the master of the blade, his heir, and the protector of an ancient order. And this story somehow, fits well with the sounds and instruments from that part of our, this mortal world, so to speak. And it makes your mind wander to a different time and a different world. So it just fits perfectly with that portrayal. It portrays the musical landscape that we envisioned when we wrote the piece.
Did Dawn of the Dragon Star offer you guys different challenges that you hadn't faced before up until this point?
Oh yes, yes indeed. I would say the work with Dawn of the Dragon Star ran extremely smoothly. It was not any major hiccup, and we believe the prophecies and stars really guided our way through this journey. But yes, we did have new and uncharted challenges. So, for example, working with Allion from a distance, since he is not, a local talent, we had to, you know, fly him on dragon wings of steel to our kingdom of Sweden and work with him in a studio for a limited amount of time. And we were under time constraints and we needed to be worked very efficiently. Now, this turned out to be, not a big issue whatsoever. We finished everything in time and Allium performed, exquisitely. But, it was a challenge indeed, and try to figure everything out and have everything done in time. And all the arrangements needed to be, we couldn't bring Allion here and then realize in the middle of eternalizing his voice that, oh, this song was in the wrong key or it doesn't fit his voice. So we had to really think about these things beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was a challenge. And also, I have to mention, we had a completely new technical workflow. So we basically built our, from a technical standpoint, we built everything from the ground up and started from scratch. While when we made Heroes of Mighty Magic, we started from some sort of middle ground of let's continue what we have and build upon it. Whereas now we started fresh. It was a new chapter and an empty scroll to fill with music. And it was daunting, but also very rewarding and exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, a lot of new challenges. I think going forward, I think we have settled on a type of workflow and a soundscape that we've always been looking for. So I think we only need to slightly adjust our course, steer the ship just a few degrees, and then the path is set, and our sound, we know what sound we're looking for, and we have a template of to work with and mold.
Was there a favorite story for you on Dawn of the Dragon Star? Of all the stories you guys told, is there one that for you has a little bit of a special place?
Oh, that's a difficult question indeed. All songs have a special place in my heart. Since you spend so much time with them, they become like your little familiars, your little changelings that you cherish for a long time. But if I had to choose something, I would say either Night of Winterlight or, as previously mentioned, Blade of Immortal Steel. They are two vastly different songs, but Blade for its immense, span and storytelling and it's such a journey between different moods and different places. Your mind just starts wandering, and I really enjoy that. But for Night of Winterlight, I would say, you know, it has such a particular expression, I would say. I know that a lot of people were slightly hesitant about that song. We released it as a first single, actually, but it was received. People were a little hesitant, but once you listen to it in the in the context of the whole album, it suddenly fits, and its purpose is made very clear. And I
Mhm.
also really like the message coming from this cold and desolate northern kingdom of which I am in, because it is about this mythical being. I don't know, maybe equivalent to this world's Santa Claus, perhaps, I don't know, but is a much more magically potent one. So, on the night of Winterlight, which is very a holiday in the Twilight Kingdoms, he returns, and he brings back light and warmth and growth to the world after a long and dark winter. So that resonates with me in a way also, I think.
Wow, really interesting. I have one more question for you, and that is Twilight Force right now and yourself as well working perhaps on new stories, on a sequel, if you will? I hate using that word, but on a sequel to Dawn of the Dragonstar?
Sequel, quadruple, what will, yeah. We are, we have, what should I say? We do not have any completed works as of now, but there are ideas for sure. There are, our ideas are always evolving, and in your sleep you will hear things. When you wake up, you will hear things, and you will be out in the woods and you will see things, and there are always things, you know, bubbling in your mind, but nothing is written in stone as of now, and all our ideas are ever changing. But we do have some things in the works, and it is indeed now also with the current situation in the mortal world, I would say is a perfectly good time to take up the pen and paper and start really working on our next opus. And I feel very excited about that. You could think that you would be tired, or you just want to rest for years. And also, we have not been touring much with this album because of what has happened. So a lot of things have changed. But as for now, I am fairly optimistic that very soon we will have some concrete ideas and musical uh, grains and seeds for our fourth album.
Yeah, you'll start working on some magic potions perhaps in order to sparkle those creative juices.
Ooh, we have to talk to Bourne about that. He is our potion master. So I'm sure he can conjure up some very potent potions. I've tried some of them, but they are rather, let's just say they will make your mind wander in ways maybe you perhaps didn't intend to.
I think I understand exactly where you're talking about. Well, Blackwall, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate you chatting with me about Twilight Force, the Twilight Kingdoms. It was such a learning experience for myself, and I hope it will be the same for others watching our chat. So thank you very much for your time
It
today.
was all my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay healthy and stay safe.